Welcome, Core Community, to our June session of Core Leadership Sessions. I am here with Jill Knittel of JK Executive Strategies, and I'm super psyched to be here. Let me tell you about Jill and why I wanted to meet with her, and I wanted to introduce her to you. Jill started JK Executive Strategies in August of 2017. Okay. That was about 2 years ago, all right? Not too long ago. And she has already had such success that she's hired 3 people onto her team. That is awesome, Jill.
Thank you.
So excited for you. And has expanded the company offering. So you want to learn from Jill as a leader because she's moving and grooving fast, and I know there's more on the horizon. JK Executive Strategies is started as an executive and professional search specialist. And I know that that is really your specialty, Jill. Tell me, I know you're starting something more, so tell me a little bit about what's going on.
So when I initially started the company, I thought that I would just do retained executive search work for client companies because I love doing executive search work. I love working with not-for-profit boards on their leadership positions as well as for-profit companies and really figuring out who the best leaders are for their organizations. But quickly after I started JK Exec, I realized that I didn't have the bandwidth for the demand for my services here in the greater Rochester and upstate New York area. So I was able to hire somebody who's really my right hand, Jamie Howley, who has been excellent and a real partner with me. And she has expanded our capabilities to do more professional search, so not necessarily all retained, but more at the professional level. We do a lot of HR, a lot of manufacturing leadership, and really run the gamut in finance and corporate accounting type roles, things like that. And then Jamie has gotten so busy and we have some clients of ours that really would like us to do more administrative, office level, not necessarily all entry level, but more of that office support type positions. So one of our recent hires from January, Allie, has been promoted into that role. And then we actually just hired a recent grad from St. John Fisher.
Awesome.
So it's exciting and
Yes.
we're growing, and I'm really, really excited about where we are.
So you're growing, but here's the other cool thing, is that companies in Rochester are growing because they're hiring you to hire more people into their companies.
Right,
so
right.
that is so hopeful and exciting for the Rochester community.
Yeah.
And I love that for you too.
Thank you. I have always said, I've been doing search and executive work for quite a long time in Rochester, over 20 years. And I've always said that Rochester rides the highs low and the lows high. And there's really a steady state. If you have a good business and you know what you're doing, you're professional, and you tell the truth, for the most part, companies can be very successful in Rochester, and I love that.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to have you, I want to hang on to that and you tell the truth thing, because there's a reason to when I first met Jill a few years ago, and we'll get into this in a minute, because I want to tell you a little bit more about what she does, as you've kind of heard. But hold on to that piece that you just said, because I want to ask you about that.
Okay.
Okay, Jill, she hasn't spoken this about herself, so I'm going to tell you. She is the recipient of the Rochester Business Journal's 40 Under 40 in 2006 and was an Athena Award finalist in 2014. That's the Women Council's Award, the Athena Award. And then recently, just a few short weeks ago, she was also awarded a Woman of Excellence by the Rochester Business Journal. So check out the Rochester Business Journal and learn more about Jill there. And then last but not least, she really serves our community in a big way, especially in the realm of families. She serves on the board of the Hillside Family of Agencies, the Bavona Child Advocacy Center, and she is on the board of trustees for St. John Fisher, which is where you graduated, correct? Yeah, great. And so, she's someone to really pay attention to, and she's someone that you want to hire to do your executive searches, your contract staffing, onboarding, and all those good things that you will learn about when you check out her website. So Jill, you spoke about that truth. You tell the truth, you do the right thing. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you today too is I met you, I'm going to say about 3 or 4 years ago at Dave Mamano's Avanti event. We sat next to each other for lunch.
Yeah.
And I have learned that, and I've read that statistically it takes about 4 seconds. People in the first 4 seconds are sizing you up in terms of your character, not in terms of what you do,
Yeah,
okay, but
yeah.
more like, who's this
Who you
person?
are.
What's their character? Can I trust them? And that was one thing I felt right away. I was like, this chick's cool, and integrity, and I love her character, and I love that every time I see you, you're out there just being real and kind and happy no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yep.
So tell me about, tell me about that. What kind of built your character? What sort of experiences have you had?
Yeah.
And what do you think about that?
Yeah. So I think, it's interesting because I think the leadership, your own leadership skills are really, really important as you evolve as a professional. So I can't say that the leadership skills I have right now I had 20 years ago. So, obviously as people who watch this, who might have worked for me previously, I might be a different leader. I'm sure I'm a different leader. And I think that, it's very, very important. I've studied myself a lot, why I do the things I do. And I've also been really cognizant of my growth as I grow with my employees, and making sure that they get what they need out of me. So I think my goal is to remove barriers for them. I always say, what can I do for you? I was talking to Allie the other day and a little bit about the questions that you sent me to prepare for this. And I said, what do you think is my best leadership trait? Or what? She said, what I love? I love that you spend time with me every single week and I get to set the agenda. And, that's so important because what's on my mind is not necessarily what's on their mind. And their learning curve is in a very, very different space. I mean, I have 20 plus years doing this. Allie has 6 months. Yeah. And so her learning curve and what she needs to know now is very different. She also learns very differently than I do. So I think as we grow as leaders, it's important for us to recognize that the people that I feel responsible for their growth, the people that we're responsible for need different things than we did at that time. Yep. So it's so important to listen, and it's so important to just hear what they're saying and kind of develop that relationship with each individual person and as a team.
Yeah. So because they all learn differently too.
They
right?
do.
So you're mentoring. What you're doing is you're mentoring.
Yep,
them.
absolutely.
So the fact that Allie's saying you spend time with me and I set the agenda, that's a mentorship role.
Yes, absolutely.
And which is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to move people forward.
Yeah.
To grow them in their position.
And that's, it's interesting because I think when you look at the recruiting industry, which is the world that we're in, whether it's executive search or contract staffing, there's people that do this for a living that see it as a job. I don't see it as a job. I see this as a career. Yeah. And everybody who's here and under this roof treats this as a career. Yep. And that's what's so important for me. When I started in this business, nobody really goes to school and grows up and says, I want to be a recruiter. Maybe more so these days than 20 years ago. I grew up as a CPA or in public accounting, and I fell into recruiting. So when I first fell into it, I remember talking to my boss at the time and saying, I really don't know if I want to do this because I think it's kind of slimy. Like in my mind, I was like, well, I'm going to place people and make money. Like that doesn't feel good. And I said, so I don't really want to do this if I'm placing somebody in a job that I don't think is good for them or good for their career. And he said, then don't. And I said, but I don't want to really place anybody in a company that is a really bad company to work for. And he said, then don't. Yeah. So I've been able to create my rules, if you will, for the companies that I am so fortunate to represent, but also the way that I do things. And I think that's really been part of why I love what I do, is because I'm able to create the process and to be able to create what I do.
So that speaks to your character that I was talking about, because you're not doing this just to make money.
Yeah.
You have to make money to stay in existence, but you're doing it with a heart to serve the people, not only the people that you're placing,
right,
but your employees, you're serving them.
Right.
Your employees and the companies that you are working to
absolutely
hire.
And it's so hard because I know that some people say, well, recruiters never call me back and things like that, and it's very, very difficult because of how many resumes we get and things like that. But I also realize that I'm dealing with people's livelihoods.
Yep.
I'm dealing with their families. This is not something that I take lightly. And I think that, every person on the other end of that phone is a human. And it's very, very important that, even if we can't help them or they're not the right fit, that they have that they hear back, and I'll send out emails, that say, I'm really sorry you're not a fit for this job. Please connect with me on LinkedIn so you can be posted on other positions. And I'll get so many people that respond and say, thank you so much for letting me know.
Yeah, because most don't.
Because
right?
a lot, well, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's just the sheer volume.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I aspire to do that for everybody, but sometimes I do fall short, just because of the sheer volume of what's on our desks and things like that.
Okay. So I want, you said earlier that you really have looked into yourself. You're like, you become a student of yourself. So tell me, because self-awareness is another trait that is going to move someone forward and keep discipline in their character and integrity right intact with
Right.
where it needs to be a good leader.
Right.
So what is your process? What do you
Yeah.
do to look into yourself?
Yeah.
Share with me that.
So it's interesting because it's something I am always trying to learn. There's always something that I'm trying to learn. And I think that the study of yourself as a leader is probably one of the most important things that you can do, because it's how you affect others and how you affect everybody, including yourself inside. So when I got my MBA years ago, I did one of my papers on emotional intelligence, and I had read a couple of books by Daniel Goleman, who's an amazing man writing on emotional intelligence. And empathy is a big part of what I had to learn. I felt that I was very weak on empathy, and part of it was because I think that I have such a competitive nature that sometimes from a managerial perspective, I might not have had the right level of empathy. So I think I've learned empathy. And you can learn parts of the emotional intelligence spectrum over the years. Self-motivation is a piece of emotional intelligence, and I don't lack that. So it's really interesting, the things that that you're very strong with are strong, that you have strengths in, but aren't necessarily, there's other things that you have to recognize that you're not strong in, and that you have weaknesses, and you have to allow yourself to be able to study those and learn those. I got certified in the TTI assessments.
Okay, tell me, I'm not familiar with those.
So TTI is, it's called TTI Success Insights, and it's an assessment tool that really, it's a foundational, the foundation is DISC, and then on top of it is motivators. So not only do you get why what you do, but then it's why you do what you do. And I use that for a lot of my executive searches that I do, to make sure that the person, number one, I go over it with the candidate who takes the job, but I also go over it with their hiring manager, so they know where their blind spots might be from a leadership perspective, or where they might need some training or some opportunities for learning. And being able to do those on myself is, I think it's hilarious, because you do the assessments and you think, oh no, it has no idea who I am, and then I read it and I'm like, oh wow, that's me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think really those type of things, and really allowing yourself. The other thing is, I belong to a couple roundtables, CEO roundtables.
Yep.
And so Women's Presence Organization and EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. Both of those organizations allow me to sit around the table with other business leaders and really be real and talk about what my challenges are, get other people's input and insight. And I think if you're not open to hearing constructive criticism or hearing where I might be falling down, then you're not going to get what you want out of those leadership, those roundtables. So I'm always learning. I don't have, some people, read every single morning for a certain period of time. I don't do that. I run. And so I think that the thing that really, that I'm an early morning person. So I get up at 4:45, and I exercise and I need to sweat.
Yep.
And it just, it level sets me for the day. And then I'm off being able to do what I can for everybody else. But I think taking care of me first thing is probably one of the things that I've done forever and ever.
Yes.
So that's really important to me.
Right, and so when you're taking care of yourself, you're able to take care of others.
Yes.
Which is huge
Yep.
that you're doing.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting too, like do you see, this is kind of what I see in myself, and I'm wondering if this is something you see as well for you, is that those things that you know you need to grow in, right? Those challenges, those weaknesses where you don't shine. Once you become aware of them, when they start to crop up like that, you know, this is where I need to do my work. Like, this is what I'm bringing to that round table. Because I just felt this in the inside.
Absolutely.
And I need to shift it.
Like, I'll give you a perfect for instance.
Great.
So my, in the past, the company that I ran had Friday summer hours. So what would happen is between Memorial Day and Labor Day, we would close at noon. On Fridays. And if everybody's work was done or whatever, everybody was able to have the Fridays off. Summer's short in Rochester, so enjoy your summer, get your work done, but, And then what would happen is I would be the one left at the office working. So I was like, I started to have a little bit of owner's resentment. And okay, so this is all well and good, but here I am working and everybody else left. That was my fault. That was me inside resenting the fact that I gave everybody else the freedom, but I wasn't taking that freedom myself.
Interesting.
So why was I doing it then? Was I doing it to be a friendly boss? Was I doing it because I truly wanted my team to enjoy their summers? Yes. But then why was I feeling the way I was feeling? So that was an opportunity for me. So I just sat down with my team here and I said, okay, and I'm very transparent with them. And I said, so here's the thing. I really want to do summer hours, but I remember how I felt the last time, and it didn't feel good. So how do we help me? How do we all get out of here, enjoy our summers, and make sure that our clients are serviced the way that they need to be serviced, our candidates are hearing back what they need, and then our business still moves forward even though we take 3 or 4 hours off on Friday afternoons? And they're like, well, let's all get your work done. Like, if we need to stay till 1, if we need to stay till 2, let's make sure that you feel good so you can have a weekend. And, entrepreneurs don't always have weekends. And I don't. But, I mean, so I have a team now that because I'm transparent to them and because they know how I feel, I won't feel that way again.
That's right.
And I was able to talk to them about it. And, So it starts this Friday as our summer hours.
I love it.
I know.
Yeah, they're psyched.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and you.
Yeah.
So, but what I love that you did was you recognized, you asked yourself that question. You had that awareness of a few years ago when you felt that way.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I really want to do this, but I don't feel, I know I'm not going to feel good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you sat down with your team, you said, how can you help me?
Yeah. Yeah.
To deal with this. You didn't say, this is what happened in the past for me.
Yeah.
I felt resentment. So what are you going to do so that I don't feel resentment?
Well, it's very, very difficult for leaders to ask for help.
Yeah.
And that is one of the other things that I've learned over the years is that, no one person can do it alone. And, very, very similar to at the Women of Excellence, Donna Dewberry was the MC, and she stood up and she said, all of the women on this stage who are getting this honor do not stand alone and they do not walk alone. And I think that that's really kind of full circle, because I think back in the day, the woman power and women coming up in corporate America and things like that, we felt we had to do it alone, or they felt they might have had to do it alone. I don't know, but now it's really about who you surround yourself with to be able to make all tides rise, and that's what's so important. Yeah.
Well, and you need other people around you, not only for that, but to also, people are what help you to grow.
Right. Absolutely.
So when you have relationship and you're in relationship with people, you have challenges that come up, and you have good events that happen as well.
Yeah.
Those are all your learning events that build your character.
Right.
To make you even a better leader. So it's not just about the help of the people, but it's the personal help, right?
Yes. Yes.
the two interactions,
Right.
so to speak.
Right.
So, one of the last things I want to chat with you about, and then I want to hear what's on the horizon
Sure.
for JK executives, is so for someone who's just starting out,
Yeah.
all right, and you said, the self-awareness is huge. You need to be able to look into yourself and grow where you need to grow, where your weaknesses are. What would you say to that person that so how do I start? What should I do first? Because I don't know what my weaknesses are, or I don't know how I'm showing up.
Right. Right. So I think that probably sitting down and listening. Ask and listen. Asking questions like, how did it make you feel when I said it like that? Would you have said it differently if you were me? I also have had a coach for years. Yep. And having a coach is so, so valuable because that person knows you like no other and can deliver very, very critical feedback to you in a very, very kind way, to not break you down, but to make you understand where your blind spots and where your opportunities are. And I think that's so, so important with our growth. We need to be able to have, there's one of my former bosses had always suggested having your own little personal board of directors. And that's something that I absolutely support, especially even for people starting out and growing up in the business world, having a mentor, developing relationships with people that can be go-to people that will always return your call. It takes a while to get that, but because you also have to give that. So it's very, very important that, in my opinion, that you give more than you get, because that, number one, will allow you to grow, but it will also allow you to meet other people and help mentor others. And I think that is so, so important. So I would say, being able to create a circle of trust around you is probably the best advice that I could offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And the coach too is that you can be super vulnerable with a coach.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And you can open up, and they not only point those things out to you of your opportunities for growth, but you're able to say, this is how I'm feeling this week, because let's be real, as entrepreneurs, there's those times when you're just like you don't feel like you're on top of your game.
Well, and it's so important to go back to whatever assessments people use, and if you haven't done a personality assessment or understanding who you are, that's so important, whether it's the Enneagram, the Myers-Briggs, the TTI, the DISC. I mean, a lot of those are all very, very, very similar. But going back to read that, I probably look at it once a month. Just to make sure, because sometimes I do get in the wrong space, the wrong head space, and I need something to get me back. And sometimes it's my husband, because he knows me so well. But also, it could be just really me sitting down and saying, okay, what's going on right now in my world? And let me look at this assessment. Oh yeah, this is how I'm reacting and responding, and I need to adjust that. I need to take a deep breath. I need to go for a walk. I need to clear my head and kind of re-engage.
Awesome. Great.
So
cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. So tell us what's on the horizon for JK
so we we're just excited. So we're launching our new website. So I realized when I first started that I have that same website, and it's been almost 2 years, and we do so much more than our website reflects. So that should be we're actually reviewing the final version, so that should be launched within a week, and we'll push that out on LinkedIn and social media and things like that. And then I also am going to be starting a podcast, which I'm so excited about. And so I'll have guests on there, and a lot of it's going to be both for hiring, but it's also going to be for candidates who are looking for jobs, and people can ask questions and things like that. I think that there's a lot of questions about how to work with recruiters and that type of thing. So I'm excited to do that. And we're just going to continue to do what we do. Our goals are always to do really great work for great companies, and that's really our goal. So we'll just continue to do that.
Cool. cool.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that
Thank you.
you'll continue to grow, and I have no doubt that podcast is going to rock.
Thank you.
Because you are a great person to interview.
Thank you.
Comfortable, and you have a lot to share. So thank
Yeah.
you so much. I
You're
really
very
appreciate
welcome.
your time.
My
I know you're
pleasure.
busy.
My pleasure.
Cool.
Thanks, Maria.
So, core community, was this not awesome? I want you to reach out to Jill if you are looking for a job, okay? And if you want to hear more about what she's doing, make sure her website will be is posted right here below. And I want you to link up to that and check it out and see what she's got cooking. And for sure, check out her podcast. That's coming around the corner as well. I want to thank you for tuning in, and please subscribe to this channel so that you can continue to learn from leaders in the Rochester area that you wouldn't normally get in front of, right? Learn from these great leaders, and so that you can build your leadership skills and reach the goals that you want to reach. So thanks so much, Cora. We'll see you next month.